easier to press the home button and unlock.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let me get the podcast post updated. I forgot I had to do that. Hopefully go live exactly on time. We're actually live already, but
Okay. Did we see?
We're technically out of schedule. Find the post here.
Oh, for Christ's sakes, computer. I've been trying. I figured out a way to load sound files into the Hangout directly through a plugin, and I have been trying for like the last 10 minutes to get to Dropbox, and I can't. I can't get to Dropbox to download the files.
What's the name of the
what's going to
extension?
stop this from happening. What's that?
Foundation?
Yeah.
Okay, you're getting a little bit of lag there, but if this works, I can do it.
It's probably because my computer's freaking out trying to load Dropbox.
Oh, you know what? I can't do it because I'm hosting the Hangout. It's one of those. The plugin doesn't work.
Well, that's convenient.
The limit does not exist.
Yeah, it works with certain plugins now, but it definitely does not still work with all of them. Okay, so we need to embed the thingy. And I need to...
The intro, I'll just go last since I'm the regular guy.
I feel like we're getting a little bit of lag this week.
I haven't noticed anything unusual.
Yeah, I'm getting lag.
You're like that audio thing is disabled now, right? You're not still
It's all
running
turned
that in the background.
It actually wasn't running anything. I just had a device selected in the device manager. And for some reason it was still doing some strange things. Alright, so our post is stickied. And I guess I should social that.
Alright, if you guys give me just another couple minutes, I might be able to get this audio file thing working. Firefox seems willing to load Dropbox for me. So, that's the thing.
Also, I'm going to get my beer.
Give me one, too.
Yeah, it'll be there in a few weeks.
Probably broken.
You know, I've been reading. I don't know if any of you guys have read The Martian,
I have. I thought it was quite enjoyable.
but I'm like halfway through it, and the thought of getting it in a couple of weeks just sounded fantastic to me. So I'm like, sweet, I don't have to wait 4 years for it. That's freaking awesome.
I don't have to grow potatoes with my own poop. That sounds great. Let's do that.
Okay.
Oh, God, this computer is the worst computer ever.
It's only because you say bad things about it.
It is. It's just exacting. It's
Yeah, it has poor self-esteem because of all the smack you're talking.
Well, the good news is, like, my actual computer that I usually use had a hard drive failure, which is why I've been kind of janking together stuff for the last couple of weeks. But the one thing I actually was able to find in the whole mass of crap that was Prime Day yesterday was a good SSD. Well, a decent SSD at a good price.
a usable SSD. Yeah, the crucial ones are pretty slow, but it's not like they're unreliable or anything.
Yeah, and a slow SSD compared to any hard drive is still...
Yeah, really.
Exactly, and that computer had just a spinning disk on it before that, so it'll be an upgrade either way.
All right, are we good to go here?
Hold on, give me a minute. I'm still working on this. I'd like to get the sounds in here if we can. And it seems to be working okay at the moment.
Okay, well, you know, I mean, if everything blows up, worst case scenario, you know, you catch fire and die.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's, you know, not good for you, but the rest of us would be okay. That's what matters.
There's a recurring joke in Terry Pratchett's books where they're like, you know, cheer up, man, it could be worse. They go, well, how exactly? Well, there could be snakes in here with us.
That would make everything worse.
Oh boy. Sorry, guys. We're just seeing if we can get a sound effect system plugin for Hangouts to work. But
Matt, just do it all freestyle.
Yeah.
and by guys, I mean all two of you. So I didn't realize only the host can see a number of viewers. It's kind of messed up. I feel like everybody should be able to see how unpopular what they're doing is.
Oh no, fewer viewers. I like that.
Is that coming through?
Nope,
Nope.
not getting jack. So let's save it for next week. I was trying to think about a way to do this, and I got distracted earlier by other podcast-related things.
Yeah, we can just pretend it was music.
Yeah, let's.
Well,
I'm
gonna use it. I'm gonna use it.
You can hear it yourself.
So F y'all, I can hear fine.
All right. So I'm going to start recording right about now. This week's Android Police podcast is brought to you by Simple, the way online banking should be. Check them out at simple.com/AndroidPolice.
Welcome to the Android Police Podcast, your weekly audio source for all things Android. It is Thursday, July 16th, 2015, and I can only imagine how awkward that was for everybody who wasn't me.
And I'm David Ruddock.
I am Liam Sprathen.
I'm Ryan Whitwam,
And I'm Michael Kreider.
and that was the most awkward intro ever.
Yes! It wasn't awkward for me. It was glorious.
Matt was playing the Android Police intro music in the background on only his computer, so that only he could hear it, because we can't do the sounders live in the Hangout at the moment. We're working on that, at least for the intro. And yeah, we all just had to sit here and watch Matt kind of stare at his screen until he began to speak.
All right, so here's the thing: is apparently you have to have a pro account in order to be able to share your music with the Hangout.
Ooh.
And so I clicked on the link to be a pro on this particular plugin, and it's a 404 page. So
Oh, that's good. That bodes well for the
Professional
Hangouts
right
on
there.
Air plugin ecosystem. You can see it's
So-
really thriving.
I'm thinking that this means I should probably just abandon even trying to use this app, because obviously I'm not going to get any developer support.
You aren't, probably.
If they
It's a
can't,
pretty
if
good
they
sign.
can't, if they can't even make the page that wants to take my money work, then there's a good chance that it's just not going to work.
Indeed.
We're just gonna have to live with that. I'm your host, Matt Smith, by the way, since I didn't actually say that during the intro. Everybody else has made their identities known, and we're gonna start the show. We're gonna do it right with a little reminiscing, a little stroll down memory lane, because Android software team joined Google 10 years ago this week.
Well, last week, technically. It was
Well-
Saturday, July 11th was the date that we had been given, and that we kind of have to trust, because this doesn't appear to be recorded in public anywhere. So we managed to spot a tweet from a man named Ficus Kirkpatrick, who worked on the original Android team, was actually working way back at Danger, and then eventually transferred to Google, where he is still working, and he says it was 10 years ago on Saturday, July 11th. So, woo!
Yeah, so 10 years ago. It's hard to believe that somebody was actually working on Android 10 years ago. It doesn't feel like an operating system that is 10 years old or more.
Well, that's good. I would rather it not feel like a 10-year-old operating system, because, like Windows feels pretty old. Even Windows 8 to me, when you get to the desktop, feels pretty old. It's not fresh. It's not exciting in any way, shape, or form. So,
Well, parts of
knows-
it don't seem
yeah.
that old. Parts of it seem ancient
when
and
you-
dusty and cracking.
yes.
Yeah. When you switch to Windows 10, it feels a little more newish. It's kind of like Windows 7, but blacker. It's like, there's
And
more
then you've
dark.
got that one
dark
thing that you need
colors.
to do, that one problem you need to fix that you go into, manually edit the registry. It's like, oh, hey, hello, 1995. It's nice to see you again.
Yep. So yeah, what we were thinking is that because it's been 10 years we're just picking this arbitrarily, completely. I don't know why I'm attaching meaning to this particular announcement, but some people did, and I think it's as good as any. So for the next 10 weeks, we're going to go back in time and revisit older versions of Android. And we won't do... I think it's probably better if we just don't talk about Android 5.0 or 5.1 because we talk about them all the time anyway. But maybe next week we can start with Android 4.4. You know, take a trip down memory lane, and then back to Jelly Bean, and then the ice cream sandwich, and then honeycomb, and then gingerbread, and froyo, and eclair, and then donut, and then cupcake. I think that's the right order. And then we can go back to 1.0, and by back to 1.0, I mean we can all read Ron's excellent history of Android on Ars Technica and discuss what we think of that. So for the next 10 weeks, hopefully, we will go further back in time on the Android chronology.
Yes.
Well, I will give just a little bit of praise to Android here, because the measure of an improving operating system for me has always been that when you upgrade to the new version, you don't need all of the extra apps and add-ons that you needed in the old version to make it do what you wanted. And for 5.0 and 5.1, that there's been a lot of that, especially in the notification center and the quick actions. I see that a lot when Windows gets upgraded too, and I love to see it, and I hate it when they take it away. So, in conclusion, Lollipop is nice.
Yeah. I think M is going to be even better because it seems like they're taking a lot of those options that people have been asking for and sticking them back in the settings.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, they pretty much eliminated my need to root things now. Like as of Lollipop, I just don't even bother anymore. I think the last really nagging thing was that you couldn't take screen recordings without root access before, but Lollipop added that, so I don't really have any reason to root stuff.
Yep, it is definitely a feature request stomping set of releases we've had recently, which is providing happy feelings amongst the commentariat on Android Police, which is certainly good.
What was the there was one version of Windows where during all the advertisement they said I designed that, or that was my idea. I feel like the developer community could be completely doing that with developer preview.
Well, I'm sure they are. The ROM community especially, a lot of the stuff's been done in custom ROMs for a long time, comparatively. And it's just that, it's a matter of copying isn't bad by necessity, and I don't really think there's any kind of reasonable gripe you could make that Google stole this from X, Y, or Z. It's like, well, they saw an idea, or somebody else saw the idea and suggested it, or whatever.
Then Google implemented it in such a way that it doesn't cause your phone to crash.
Yeah, it's the right kind of copying. It's copying done right.
3 or 4 years ago, I'd see half a dozen articles a year that were always, Google needs to steal these features from custom ROMs and put them into AOSP. And so they've done that now. So that's a good call to me.
Well, we've got a new version of Android Wear that's going to be coming out soon. So there's news about all the various features like watch-to-watch communication, which I don't know. I do know somebody else who has a watch, so I guess I can communicate with that one person.
Yeah, this update sounds pretty boring. I mean, hopefully there's a lot more stuff than what was leaked, but interactive faces and watch-to-watch communication are the two things that we heard about.
Isn't audio or speaker support coming? Wasn't that leaked at some point? I
mean, maybe at some point. I mean, that wasn't part of what we just heard, which came with some pictures. So I mean, it seems pretty legit. But I mean, the interactive watch face thing, that already exists, sort of. It's a hack, but there are watch faces you can get where if you tap on the watch face, it'll do stuff it'll show your calendar or weather or whatever. But that's going to be an official feature, I guess, in the next version of Wear. And then I'm sure that somebody will create a way to send your heartbeat to another Android Wear user.
That was kind of akin to when they added the official watch face support in the first place, because it wasn't like people weren't already doing it.
Yeah. It took them forever to do that. It was 7 or 8 months, maybe, or 6 months after Android Wear came out that they finally said, okay, now you can make watch faces, even though there were already a few hundred of them in the store.
Yeah,
right.
And now you all need to switch to the official API, or else.
Well, right, because if you didn't do it the right way, they were going to take all the watch faces off. So does that mean that all the interactive watch faces are going to be threatened to be removed from the Play Store when this one comes out?
I don't know. Maybe. I guess we'll
quite possible. Would not put it past Google. They have been more aggressive in their control of the Wear and Android Auto ecosystems than they have others.
Now, here's what I want to know: is I've built interactive watch faces with Watchmaker Pro. Are they going to reach into my phone and delete those?
Oh, definitely, yeah. A Google employee will actually show up at your house.
At my house?
And say, "Can I see your phone, sir? I need to delete your watch faces."
He will then spray you with a bottle filled with chemtrail fluids.
Also, the employee will be a lizard person.
He will.
Well, naturally.
Yeah. You know, we discussed this before the show about whether we actually wanted to talk about this topic because it seems like kind of a lame update to Android Wear, and the reason was neither of these things seem to solve problems or desires people have with Android Wear. I mean, interactive watch faces, okay, but again, it's already being done. And then as far as watch-to-watch communication, I mean, why exactly do you want your watch to communicate with another watch specifically? Aren't device-specific communications generally kind of a bad idea?
I think the watch-to-watch thing is one of those inherited science fiction ideas that we just can't let go of. Like flying cars and hoverboards and crap like that. Yeah, we can do them, and we realize pretty quickly that they're a bad idea. But we just keep trying to make them. So.
I need a Dick Tracy communicator app for my watch.
Mm-hmm. Dick Tracy, Power Rangers,
I want to believe that there's some great feature or functionality out there that's going to make smartwatches actually compelling, and that companies like Google are just kind of building these features like interactive watch faces in the meantime. Like
they all know what it is, and they've set a future target date.
Yeah, exactly. They're all working on this just until they can finally release the thing.
I think that it's mostly that they're waiting to see what obviously they're probably watching the ecosystem very, very closely on this, and I think they're looking at what developers are doing, specifically what developers are doing outside the already existing functionality they provide officially, and then saying, okay, we need to build those tools so that other people do these sorts of things, and I think that's probably the direction. That seems to be the guiding principle in smartwatches and new form factors right now, because I don't see any Google doing anything that is specifically taking Wear in a strong functional sense.
Right.
Wear was when it launched.
I just still haven't figured out what makes smartwatches a worthwhile exploration, or what's going to be the thing that's going to make them a device that everybody has or wants.
We've had this stuff for ever since the original Pebble. And we've pretty much boiled it down to fitness applications and notifications. Those are the two things that you want your wearable thing to do. Android Wear does a lot of other stuff, and a lot of people don't seem to really care.
So,
there's all that other stuff you can do with your phone, and you don't need on your wrist all the time, every second of the day.
So, is that the peak of smartwatches? Will it just be refining those two experiences? Because that seems really boring.
Yeah, it does. And the other problem is that there's no price consistency to it. The value equation, is just broken. If that's really what a smartwatch is best for, that's not worth $300. There's no way you'll be able to convince the average person that.
You don't need Android Wear to do those things. You can do those things with a Pebble, or even a super cheap, whatever Chinese OEM smartwatch you can get on Alibaba or whatever.
Yeah, it's never, it's not that I dislike smartwatches. I don't dislike smartwatches. I try to wear my Watch Urbane usually every day, except when I'm at my desk because it bothers me when I type. But which means I don't wear it a lot too. Actually, I actually probably don't wear it most of the time. But when I go outside, when that happens, I do wear it.
Yeah, see, I try to wear my watch when I'm gonna go out, but then there are times when the phone I'm using it isn't synced to that phone. I'm I don't want to wait 10 minutes for that thing to sync all of the apps and everything. So it's whatever, forget it. And I'm and when I don't have it, I feel it's a little bit weird if you're used to just being able to look at your wrist and see what's happening on the phone when it makes noise. But like we said, that's not the sort of thing most people are going to pay hundreds of dollars to get.
Yeah,
I paid for a G Watch just to test it, just to be able to write about it, and I don't think I've put it on in the last 6 months. I just have a regular watch. That's all I need.
It doesn't help that the G Watch is pretty ugly.
Yeah, the G Watch is pretty bad. The G Watch is just a square. It's a wrist brick.
The aesthetics do not bother me. The fact that it doesn't do anything that I really need it to do, or the fact that I don't have anything that I need it to do, is what bothers me.
I think part of my problem with smartwatches also is that I just don't have one that's reliable. So
yeah, the Moto 360 really went kind of downhill after a couple of updates. It's not really surprising.
Very, very sudden amnesia where it forgets what it is and what devices it's supposed to be.
It forgets what it is. Am I a watch?
Yeah, exactly. And then it sits there pondering its life choices for like 20 minutes, and then it finally connects.
All right, so I'm probably not the average consumer, but I've actually not worn my ZenWatch for about the last 3 days, and I find myself missing it a lot. But it's really just because I have to pull my phone out of my pocket to tell what time it is.
Do you get phantom wrist vibrations?
I don't, but I do frequently look at my wrist, and it takes me about 13 seconds to realize there's nothing there telling me the time.
I want to see that.
It's, the only reason I use mine, basically, like the one thing that keeps me using it when I do go outside of my domicile is I have it set to be my smart lock for my phone, and that essentially attaches it to me permanently when I leave, because who wants to enter their PIN every time they pull out their phone? It's extremely annoying. But, I use it sometimes, my car, I have a, single DIN head unit in an old Mercedes, and it just does music, basically. So I don't get notifications through that or anything. And I like it for that when I'm driving, and I'm just like, I'm at a stop sign, and I just feel my wrist buzz, and I can just go, oh, okay, that's not important, I don't care. And I can get on with my life instead of, pulling out my phone, risking getting pulled over, or, not paying attention on the light turning screen, etc. But aside from that, it's mostly novelty, and the novelty wears off, I think, relatively quickly. At least it did for me.
Gestured music controls are nice on your wrist.
Oh yeah,
if you're
the media
listening to
stuff
music through your phone.
is handy.
I don't care for like the default media stuff that's built in, where you got to swipe left to get to your controls, and then you've got to pinpoint precision touch which thing you want to do. But I've been using Music Boss, which has gesture where you swipe one way to fast forward, swipe another way, swipe up, swipe down for volume.
Yeah, maybe I'll try that. Because I do use it for music controls if I'm like walking somewhere and my phone's in my pocket and I have headphones in and I don't want to pull out my phone. I do use it for that sometimes.
The notification aspect of Music Boss is a little bit wonky, because like if you get a notification from it, you actually have to go to the menu and select a dismiss option. You can't just swipe it away. So that's kind of a pain in the butt. But
because it's having to live by the hard, fast rules of the notification bar that were introduced, and I guess that's Android 5.0, or is it KitKat?
Right.
It's one of them where you can't put hidden things in the notification bar anymore. It's against the law. Android law.
Yeah. I get the feeling that Android Wear sales have been fairly steady, because I mean it's clearly a product that appeals to somebody who is already deeply invested in that ecosystem and frankly kind of geeky. What I want to see is what kind of sales difference the Apple Watch has when that second generation comes out, when everybody has seen this come in a huge product and realizes exactly what it can do and what it can't do and how useful it is or is not. So I want to see that sales gap, which I'm predicting.
Yeah, and I hate to pull out analyst numbers because I feel dirty when I do it. There was a report going around that said that Apple Watch sales tapered off like 80% from launch month or something.
Yeah, that was from Slice, that app that does the shipping tracking stuff.
Yeah, which whatever. But I can see that it would probably drop off quick because it's an enthusiast device, and somebody who wants it is going to get it as soon as they possibly can, and people who don't want it aren't going to be convinced.
It's really hard to convince a regular person that here is this thing you should buy for $200, $300, $400 that does sort of a subset of the things your phone does, but it's on your wrist. Also, you have to charge it every day.
Yeah, I'm going to go to standard, bad David analogy. It's like, owning owning a really impractical car, like something deeply impractical. Like
it's going to be a car thing.
Yeah, it's going to be a car thing, like a car that like you've torn out all the passenger seats for maximum weight savings, and the exhaust is so loud that you've got serious hearing damage, and but it looks really cool. It looks like exotic or something, like it's a track car, and you go to fill up in the gas station, and everybody's like, huh. What's it cost to fill that up? Huh? What'd that car cost you? Huh? How fast that go? Huh? Is there actually any good to drive on the road? Huh? Get a lot of tickets? I feel like that's kind of the response that smartwatches get. Like, is that useful? How much was it? Pretty expensive. Battery dies after a day. That's pretty bad.
So you're saying the smartwatches are the Chevy SSR?
Yes.
I feel
Smartwatches are SSR. They are toys for people with too much money.
I feel like those are direct quotes from what I've heard. Like
They really are. That's
smartwatches.
every conversation I have with somebody about a smartwatch. It's like, what's it do? Does it do anything else? That doesn't sound very useful to me. It's very, very hard to convince, a normal non-techie person, and I don't mean that to categorize a group of people apart from, providing stereotypical questions. But that's in my experience how most people see smartwatches.
Well, look at us. We're a group of techie people, and we are all sitting here bashing the idea of smartwatches.
Some people that are very pro-smartwatch out there, and I mean most of them are early Pebble adopters, but they're out there, and I think it's interesting. Like, I want it to work because there's so much money going into it now that I just kind of want to see where it goes, just to see what happens.
Well, let's move on to a product that was officially announced. We've known about it for a while. Nearby, which is that whole functionality where they take the ultrasonic sounds and they make it so that you know things are nearby. Liam, I think you could probably do the best job of explaining that.
So Nearby, we heard about it last year. Basically, a system where your device's Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, speakers, and microphone are used variously to connect to nearby devices, whether that's phones, tablets, beacons, TVs, stuff like that, to do really interesting stuff, like communicate with each other, authenticate between two devices, and then exchange information. So we've already seen some of this functionality, like with Chromecast's Whisper, for instance, where you can enter guest mode, and it plays an ultrasonic sound to authenticate with your device, and you don't have to do anything else to connect to the device. So Google finally officially announced it in more detail than what they had talked about with things like Chromecast. And some apps are already showing off what they can do. So things like Trello, for instance, you can share a board with nearby people. You can compare podcasts with friends using Pocket Casts, things like that. So it seems still extremely early, but I feel like this is something that could really be one of the next big things for mobile devices in terms of the next cool thing that devices can do. And I know that iOS has some functionality that kind of resembles this with continuity. But it can go so much further, You could say
but continuity isn't about sharing with others; it's about sharing with yourself, isn't it?
Right. So like with Nearby, for instance, I mean, imagine saying, let's have a meeting with these guys, and like it gets the people who are around you, and makes a calendar entry and invites all of them. So like stuff like that where you have to tell your device less and less before it knows what you actually want and is able to act on that.
It seems to me, and not to oversimplify it, that the main vision for Nearby is, but what if Android Beam didn't have to make the phones touch?
See, I'm thinking like way like magical kind of thinking. Like I feel like this could be really huge.
I mean, it's cool because Android Beam was in theory a good idea. I actually used it last night with my girlfriend who finally switched to an Android phone with no prodding from me. Her iPhone eventually just won out the bitter war of hatred, and she got rid of it. But I use it to share an app, maybe you want to see this app, and you touch the phones together, and voila. And doing that over ultrasonic sounds easier because then you just hit the share button, and it's you just have to. I wonder how the listening aspect will work. You've got to have the right app open, or is there going to be some stuff that you'll. I don't know. That to me is probably the one part that I'd be interested in to see how they handle.
And I think
the real important question though is it going to piss off dogs?
Are any Chromecast owners with dogs out there?
The Chromecast stuff does not upset my dogs.
Doesn't upset my dog either.
All right.
Yeah, I feel like what David was talking about is still in progress. I mean, even though we haven't seen this functionality live yet, we did see those visual assets for co-presence, which was essentially devices authenticating with each other and then sending things like apps, videos, pictures, stuff like that. So I think they're still working on it, but I think if they see it through, it could be something really crazy in the future.
It could, especially if they can get it to work on iOS, which it should. There's no reason it shouldn't, because they said there's a library for iOS, right? And all it's doing is emitting a sound.
Yep.
There's no reason.
You put a lot of thought into this. What would you say your killer app for this Nearby service would be? What's the coolest thing you can think of using this idea?
Sharing your mixtape?
Forcing it on those near you. I think so. Like, I imagine that this will be involved in Google's new contactless payment system, right? Where you just walk up and say, "Hey, I'm paying with Google. Bye. See you later."
The smart gentleman over here has figured it out.
That's not super interesting because that is reliant on who partners with them and all that stuff. But I think Google has the imagination to make this happen. I think that your device is ultimately going to head in a direction where it will learn enough about you to know not only like what you want to do during the day, but also what your ultimate goals are, and possibly help you accomplish that. How Nearby fits into that would be interesting. It might tell you like, oh hey, I think you want this, and you're near this location. You can get it there. Like, go.
Yeah, and then you've got the beacon side of it with Eddystone and the Bluetooth side, which is more that seems more commercially robust. That's what you want in a store or an enterprise work environment or a large public venue, something like that, where it can give you valuable information.
Right, and Google does know, like what products you want and stuff. So if you're in the store that has those, that would be a great partnership for them.
See, that's the one thing for me that might bug me about Bluetooth beacons in general, is that you can walk into like a Starbucks and it's like, oh, check out our new blah blah, and I want to be like, shut up, I don't care about that, I know what I'm here for, and I don't want to see that. I don't want to see an ad on my phone just because a beacon sent it to me. That to me is a little too much.
I feel like that sort of stuff is probably going to end up in Google now at some point. I mean, it already tells you like when you're near, some store or another that you might be interested in. I bet if they could drill down and like know for sure that you were in one retail establishment or another, they would probably be able to guess at things you might want to buy. And I mean, some of the time that might actually be kind of magical and neat, but other times it'll come off as an ad, and you'll want to murder your phone.
And so it definitely has the potential to go very sideways and get very annoying, but it also has the potential to be like this magical thing that knows your aspirations and like
I feel like if you walked into a store and it gave you a link to like their ad for that week, that wouldn't be terrible.
Yeah, I mean some of the coolest things with all the the Google Now stuff and the location tracking that they've added in the last few years, it's like when it does that really sort of hyper local sort of contextual stuff, and Nearby could make that much more accurate. Like right now you get notifications that might be, relevant if you were in a slightly different location very close to where you are. Like if you're in like a shopping center or a mall or something, it doesn't know which store you're in, but it might show you like information about something that's nearby. But if it actually knows for sure where you are.
That's really true, and Bluetooth beacons are obviously much more accurate. They're accurate to like 1/10 of an inch in XYZ space, so they are pretty sure of where you're located.
Or what would be cool? It's like if I want to buy a specific product in a store, if I could just ask my phone where the hell in the store it is, and it's like, oh, it's 30 meters that way, because it knows exactly where you are because of the Bluetooth beacon.
That would be cool. That would actually be, it would make a lot of sense. I mean, there's some privacy considerations you have to think about there, I guess. But I guess if you're in the store, you're already consenting to being observed.
Yeah, I mean, like if you've got location history turned on with your Google settings, then Google already has a complete history.
People will forget about this kind of stuff, though. As the Drudge Report article about our initial Nearby thing elicited, people get very, very upset about these sorts of things. Because they, oftentimes because they don't understand them, but even if they were forced to understand them, they would probably still feel irrational about them. Just because,
I think
unfortunately,
there's no real understanding to be had. Like it's very easy to look at something like this and say, oh, they're, what happened to Don't Be Evil?
Yes, exactly. Those kinds of conversations will definitely happen.
Yes, there will be a lot of newspaper headlines that will reference that motto.
Yeah.
Just think we should move on to Samsung stuff.
Yeah, we should talk about Samsung. a lot of rumors floating around about Galaxy Note 5 and other various devices and when they might be announced. And well, let's sort it out.
I really wanted to say the Galaxy Note 5 might be nearby. I'm just gonna throw that in there.
Oh man.
And I miss the days when we could make jokes about how huge Galaxy Notes were, because that would have been a great opportunity for one. But it's just not funny anymore.
Yeah. So the Note, I wanted to talk about the Note 5 on this week's show and the S6 Edge Plus because it seems invariable that they are coming and that they are coming next month, which is early for the Note, quite early. To be precise, it looks like we're looking at an announcement date of August 12th, which I just lead on spreadsheet, and release date just a week later, or 9 days later, on the 21st. Whereas last year, the Note 4 wasn't available in the U.S. For retail purchase until October 17th.
There was a really long gap between announcement and release last year, wasn't there?
There was.
Yeah.
So why are they trying to do it so early?
I think it's just in response to iPhone 6 Plus sales. I think that's mostly what it is. They feel like they have to, they've got the new iPhone coming too. They want to get out ahead of the new iPhone, and they want to keep eating into those those iPhone 6 Plus margins. At least that would be my theory, and that's the theory a lot of people have offered up.
So what exactly are they going to do to the Galaxy S6 Edge to make it an S6 Edge Plus?
They're going to stretch it out.
Bigger, right? It's going to be like a Note, but they're not going to call it a Note.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
There won't be a stylus. There won't be a stylus on it.
No. I assume they're not going to do another Note Edge, right? That thing was a one-off.
It sounds like the Note Edge is a done thing, and they want to instead, make their big phone. They want a big mass market phone, because like the iPhone 6 Plus, so they're doing the S6 Edge Plus because the S6 Edge has been so popular.
Inexplicably.
Yes, inexplicably. We're going to look back on that phone one day, and I am going to say that was an ugly phone.
I mean,
the Nokia Taco phone of 2015.
I see them all the time. Like I probably see at least as many Edge phones as I see regular Galaxy S6s.
So how pissed are all those people who paid an extra $300 to get their Edge phone going to be when the Edge Plus comes out?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see... Well, okay, so here's the thing about the S6 Edge Plus is the rumor from Sam Mobile is that it's going to have Snapdragon 808 processor instead of an Exynos 7420, which is probably maybe a little better for LTE performance battery life, but probably worse for actual speed, which would be an interesting compromise.
I wonder if that would just be like a supply thing, like that they just couldn't get enough Exynos chips.
I think it's either that, or making the Edge display that big is so expensive that they couldn't afford to put the Exynos chip in there. Though I'm sure Samsung can afford to subsidize whatever the hell they want for their own phone. So I think the supply problem's more likely. Yeah, but because the rumor is that the Note 5 will use an Exynos 7422, which is basically the Exynos 7420 and the Galaxy S6 with all of the parts integrated onto a single SoC, so the radio and memory and everything else is all on the same same wafer instead of being discrete components.
Which is interesting because you would think that would be more important to do on the smaller phone.
Yeah, but I'm guessing it just wasn't ready.
Yeah, must not have been.
The S6 Edge Plus, I have to think, Samsung tests everything. Like they're always working. Every time for every new phone that Samsung makes, there are probably like 20 canceled prototypes that they decided not to do. And I'm guessing the S6 Edge Plus was one of those maybe prototypes that they did when they were developing the original S6 Edge, and then the S6 Edge sales made them think, yeah, we got to actually build that because people are just buying tons of them. And maybe that is how the supply problem for the chips would enter into it, because they don't have it in their timeline to produce this phone if they want to release it at the same time as Note 5.
That makes sense.
That sounds like a reasonable assumption.
All those phones that they've left on the scrap room floor, but yet the Galaxy Beam or whatever that projector phone was still made the cut.
They made two of those, in fact.
They did. They made a second one, which only went on sale in select, very forgiving countries. the Note 5 so far doesn't actually seem all that interesting either. I mean, the chipset upgrade will be nice for sure. It'll give it, the Note 4 has had some performance issues, but there's been no leaks about any exciting features or any, hugely improved battery capacity. It sounds like the battery's actually going to be sealed, and there's going to be no micro SD card slot, which is just going to. Oh my God, the comments on the internet will be aflame with anger. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. As far as we know, it's basically just going to look.
Samsung, or they can actually beat on flambe when they go to HTC. Sorry, bad joke.
Yes, that was an overheating joke, everybody. But it seems like the Galaxy Note 5 will just look like a Galaxy S6, except with an S Pen that basically I think is still going to do the same stuff. I don't know if the Note 5 is interesting as maybe the Note 4 was. So same screen resolution, probably a roughly similar panel to the one they're already using, though we can't know that for certain. Maybe it'll be a little bit brighter or more power efficient. And the battery doesn't seem like it's going to be substantially bigger. It won't be removable. There's not really any new headlining technologies that would come with this phone. It'll probably have a fingerprint scanner. But it just, it basically sounds like a power user Galaxy S6, but without the usual, the major upgrades you expect out of the Note compared to the S phone that's released earlier in the same year.
A lot of people don't even use the stylus on the Note devices, so it's just kind of like it's just a big Galaxy S, even more so than before.
I'd heard that Samsung has actually done some not focus group testing, but survey testing, and less than half of people who respond who own the phone say they use the stylus. And significantly less than half apparently. So the stylus is not a big selling point, and that's why I can see why they want to do the S6 Edge Plus. It's for the people who want the fancy phone and for it to be big, but couldn't care less about a stylus.
Maybe this will be the last Note, or maybe they'll start winding down the Note stuff to a degree.
I can't see why they keep the stylus.
If they can just make a regular Galaxy S phone and then a bigger version of it, then that's the Apple model, I guess now. But if it works. Of
course, we are inevitably going to get an email now about how somebody uses the Galaxy Note stylus extensively in their day-to-day lives. We actually had that happen. This is an Android Police story when Ron reviewed the Galaxy Note 10.1, a moment which shall forever live in Android Police infamy.
Yeah, that was great.
The one where he put it in the trash can. We've talked about on this podcast several times with Ron himself too. Usually, we got this email from this guy who claimed he was a doctor and he bought a Galaxy Note 10.1 and he used it for his work stuff, and he talked about how it helped him, write notes and do things for patients. And I'm just sitting there thinking, but you're a doctor, your handwriting is probably terrible. Why aren't you just typing these things? It's probably easier.
It's not like doctors haven't had those tablet PCs for 15 years.
Yeah, or as doctors have been using voice dictation software since time eternal because they're so lazy about typing apparently. But that's going off on a rather severe tangent. But yeah, just it's one of those things that it's one of those features where if you take it away, you're going to get some people super angry, and they're gonna never forgive you for it. Those people will never buy another Samsung.
Those are also the removable battery and micro SD as well.
But those people are running out of things to do. If Samsung gets rid of the stylus, there's nowhere else for these people to go. These stylus refugees.
Hey, LG makes a number of phones with crappy capacitive styluses, so that's what they can do.
In reality, I'll probably just move to Bluetooth styluses because seriously, if you need a stylus space, we'll get one that doesn't, the tiny little plastic stick that bends in your hand.
That would truly be Samsung's Google Reader moment.
It really would. It would be a definite Google Reader moment for Samsung.
Now I'm just imagining crowd-funded, home-sourced Samsung alternatives with the stylus built in, all over Kickstarter and Indiegogo in 18 months.
Oh yeah, no, there will be a case for the S6 Edge Plus that'll have a little stylus slot built in.
Oh, there you go.
I bet that's going to be on Indiegogo day one.
I was hoping for a glove that actually had a stylus in each finger. I could just.
That would be perfect.
I want to have dual styluses, one on each side.
But that, okay, but the glove is basically that's the same as having a hand, right?
But it's an S Pen, Ryan. Hello.
I think he's imagining an Edward Scissorhands kind of thing.
It's like a thing longer.
Yeah,
There will be a Swarovski edition, completely covered in cubic zirconia crystals.
The S Pen actually has a diamond tip.
Yes. It actually scratches your
cuts
screen.
You can only use it once.
No, you actually just have to get a little guard for the tip of the pen. Swarovski, S Pen, S Guard. This is getting out of hand.
So I think we're kind of leaning towards, next year's model line is going to be the Galaxy S7, the Galaxy S7 Edge, the Galaxy S7 Plus, and the Galaxy S7 Edge Plus.
Yeah, I mean, or maybe just like the Edge Plus, if like the Edge stuff continues to be really popular.
I mean, Samsung's going to get to a point where they're going to stop doing the S and the Note, and they're just going to release the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And the Galaxy
I
Edge.
imagine. I mean, they'll probably do that before they hit 10.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's inevitable because numbers aren't cool.
Yeah.
And
Unless
when
it's
they
one. The number
when they
one is
hit
really
10,
cool.
And only when it's written out.
If they don't reset back to 1 by the time they hit 10, they're going to use X. I'm calling it right now.
No, the next one's going to be the Galaxy S1.
They should have done that last year if they wanted to.
They should. Last year was the year for ones.
It was.
Yeah.
I wonder if they've made a Galaxy T yet, because then they could be like, we actually took it to the next level. We're done with the S. We moved on to the T.
And then the U.
There already was a Galaxy U. It's done. It can't be done again later. Finished.
The next one will be the Galaxy S and a symbol.
The artist formerly known.
The phone formerly known as Galaxy. That's what it's going to be.
Maybe it'll even be that S symbol where it's like two S's overlapped on each other.
No,
Oh, you mean like the Nazi symbol? That'd be great.
Yeah, it's like a swastika. No, it'll be like a cross between a swastika and an ampersand.
I was hoping for that thing where you like draw 3 lines and then you make the.
Oh yeah, the thing everybody did in middle school.
Yeah, so these let's just take a moment and step back and realize that these are all ideas that OnePlus would take seriously.
Never settle.
Never settle for language.
They haven't technically announced the new phone yet, so they might actually be doing something like that. For all we know.
They've announced maybe like 40% of the new phone.
I just want OnePlus to release their press release in Comic Sans and just confirm to everybody that they are what everyone thinks and knows they are.
Yeah. What if they released their next phone and it didn't have any of the things in it that they've announced already?
I'm just expecting and then there would be a blog post that's like, we like Comic Sans and here's why.
We've been defenders of Comic Sans from the beginning. If you actually go into the OnePlus One's dialer menu for developer options, the third sub-menu, in the second paragraph of the terms and conditions, there is a sentence in Comic Sans.
It gives our users an excellent experience by allowing us to keep razor-thin margins.
It lends a sense of levity to our products.
Well, hey, maybe we should talk about phones that have actually been announced and aren't OnePlus One phones.
But are made by the Comic Sans of phone companies, which ZTE undoubtedly is.
Darn.
Harsh, man.
The Comic Sans of the phone industry.
Nobody takes ZTE seriously outside China. I don't even think they take them seriously in China.
China is a market of 1 billion people. You can compete just in.
I mean, look, ZTE's entire business model for the last 5 or 6 years has been to make really cheap phones that are sold on prepaid carriers, which I mean that works for them, but it's totally doesn't make a company.
Do you think that American consumers take ZTE more seriously than Sega's?
I don't think American consumers have heard of either one.
But after, talking a bunch of shit about Segas, I get endless Segas ads on YouTube now. They just don't stop. Like, it's everything I watch is a Segas commercial. I'm being punished for what I said.
They're targeting you specifically, so I will show him.
It actually redirects every video to Segas.
But we're talking about the ZTE Axon,
yes,
which actually does not have the letters, as far as I can tell, ZTE anywhere on the body of the phone. Because rebranding is very cool for Chinese smartphone companies right now. It looks interesting. Like, if I were to ask, a promising but slightly tasteless, design major at a low tier school to design me a futuristic phone, I feel like this is what we would end up with, especially with the triangles, man. The triangles are out of control on this phone.
Yeah, so it's got the triangle like mesh at the top and bottom of the front, and I think that there's only one speaker, even though it's got the two grills. But and then on the back, it's got that same mesh pattern between the two cameras. That's two cameras, because that worked out well for HTC. But I guess so. It has I think a 13 megapixel main camera, and then a lower res secondary camera that helps it focus, and also it does post capture refocusing.
Oh boy, yeah, the dual camera.
I'm sure it'll be bad.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be.
When you say it helps it focus, I can't help but think that it sits there and say, "Come on, man, you could do this."
Yeah, I'm sure exactly what it does.
Yeah, I mean, it does look, for the money, $450. You're not quite high end, but you're definitely,
Yeah, this seems appropriately priced, I would say, for what it will probably end up being.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems like the components seem to be in place. It's an LCD. I'm always how the screen looks on a phone in anything but high, premium flagship level.
Yeah, it's
price.
1440p, and I feel like if you skimp on that component, it's going to be really obvious.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't too many companies making 1440p panels. I don't think there aren't like compared, to like TV panel makers or 1080ps, but. It looks interesting. Like I don't love the triangles. It looks like somebody took an HTC One and tried to make it cool, or 1X, excuse me, from like what was that 2013? But it could be good. Like I kind of want ZTE to, because ZTE's phones, like you said, usually think of budget crap that just is hopeless.
Yeah, and I mean, apparently the software is very close to stock, which would be really great if they could manage that. Because I'm sure ZTE doesn't have like a lot of software developers on staff, so if they chose to modify Android, they'd probably do a pretty bad job of it.
Well, ZTE's Chinese phones are skinned in what may be the most abominable Android skin of all time. It is truly unbelievably, like, you laugh. It's so bad. It's not even. It's so bad you're not even mad. It's worse than that. Actually,
it's worse than Flime.
Yeah, it actually, I believe, is based on Flime. I believe several Chinese. It might be based on another one. It's based. I think ZTE's ROM is based on another one.
I need to look up a picture of this. Now you got me very curious.
It's really like the animations they have for some stuff are completely insane. It is very unrepentantly flamboyant. But I'm curious. I think I'm going to review the phone, so I'm curious to see how the camera is and. See how the build quality is. I feel like I like the polycarbonate body look. Looks like it has a matte finish, which I think looks nice.
Yeah, but it has a Snapdragon 810 inside, so
yeah, and
we'll see how that goes.
For the price, I'm probably a little more willing to let that not matter.
Yeah, I mean. Maybe they've had time to deal with heat issues a little bit more. I mean, obviously the chip will still produce a lot of heat, but maybe they've worked on a way to pull it away faster.
I'm guessing it throttles just as badly as it does on all the other current phones. I doubt ZTE is doing anything super special. I just think that at that price you can be a little more forgiving of performance issues versus $700.
I'm going to say I'm really positive about this phone. All right, It's really difficult to make a slate device that looks distinctive, and this does look distinctive, whatever you think, especially in the white. And you know what? The price is good. The software looks good. I have high hopes for this little phone.
Although if you get rid of the triangles, it really does look like a 1X, like dead on, from the front at least, not on the back. The back a little.
That's probably why they did the triangles. They got done building it, and they're like, oh, crap.
Yeah, just
Guys, it happened again!
We can't do this in America.
Somehow I don't see HTC suing anyone over trade dress. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't think HTC is really going to care. They'll probably be flattered more than any. The people who designed the HTC One X, that one design language, they left the company anyways.
It's true.
But yeah, it's going to go on sale at some point. Is there a release date for this phone?
Late this month, I think they said.
Okay, so it's going out pretty soon. It's Android 5.1, which makes me happy that it's 5.1 and not 5.0.
Yeah, good on them for that.
Because it's probably never going to get. Well, it'll get Android M, but who knows when? I mean, you are sacrificing your ability to update that phone if you buy that device, unless ZTE does a complete turnabout in how they handle OS updates, which I doubt in the extreme.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough.
Yeah. Well, hey, Ryan.
Hey, what?
You want to talk about your Galaxy S6 that you got that released 3 months ago? That you wrote some stuff about?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can. I'll talk about that briefly, and then I'll let David contradict me. So I still think it's a pretty good phone. It has the performance on mine has not changed dramatically since it came out, which has been a problem on past Samsung phones, where they'll just start to get kind of janky and will like wake lock half of the time. That hasn't happened on mine yet. I still think that it is a very attractive phone, and the build quality is great. I have dropped it several times, and I have not yet broken the back, so good on Samsung for that. Although I've seen some broken ones, so who knows? I haven't had performance issues too much. I do see some of the this aggressive memory management stuff that people complain about. I mean, it doesn't bother me too much, but I could see how if you're jumping back and forth between a bunch of apps all the time, things would close and it would bug you. But I've never had like background audio quit or anything. But I don't know. David, do you want to complain?
On the memory side and performance, I haven't really had any problems either. I mean, I do get the occasional sluggishness, but it's that just seems to be typical Android at the moment.
The home screen, it still does that thing where like scrollable widgets are really janky and the briefing screen is still terrible. I don't know why they don't fix either of those things, but you just don't have to use the stock home screen.
I'm guessing they don't fix the briefing screen because they'd have to pay Flipboard more money to fix it, and they're like, nah, it's okay, never mind. Just give us the code. We'll deal with it. And by that, I mean we're going to hire some intern who works in a closet 18 hours a day, but actually has no idea what he's doing. Yeah, I agree with that. But the Flipboard thing, it's just typical Samsung. Okay, we're going to implement this new and exciting piece of software. By the way, it's going to be terrible. We're never actually going to really do anything to fix it. It's just the way it is forever. And then we'll get rid of it in 2 years.
Like every OEM now, they have their left side home screen thing. Like everybody's got like their Google Now thing. Like it's the briefing on Samsung, and HTC has Blink Feed, and LG has what the hell is that thing? Smart something.
Oh yeah, but they only put that on some. I don't even think the American versions of some LG phones, at least on some carriers, ship with that. Like the carriers, because LG will do anything to the software the carriers want. They'll take out stuff constantly.
Yeah,
but
that would surprise me.
For me, the S6, yeah, like I still agree. I love the build quality. I think the design it's not the prettiest phone in the world, but it's not ugly. It looks like a Samsung phone distinctively enough that you can tell it is, and I generally like it. It's super fast. The screen is unbeatable in my opinion. It is
the screen is still great.
Yeah, I mean, mine are stuck on Sprint, so I can't really use them for anything. Yeah, I can use them to see how slow Sprint is inside my apartment, which I have done. It's slow, but yeah, I personally like the phone, and I think the camera's great. Samsung built a very strong all-around phone.
But as we all know, it's the worst phone ever because it doesn't have a removable battery or micro SD card slot.
I will say the battery life isn't very good.
It is not.
Yeah, the battery life is average for me still. I mean,
it's below average for me. But actually, you know what? Actually, I just turned on my Sprint S6 today, and there's some update for the voicemail app said critical battery life fix if you are running Android 5.1. So maybe that's it, because I disabled the visual voicemail app.
Yeah, I mean, I get about 4 hours of screen time if I use it heavily in a day.
That's pretty good though.
Yeah, I mean, I consider 4 to 5 hours to be sort of average for an Android phone.
I guess if you're on Wi-Fi and automatic brightness, yeah, I mean, if your day goes from is like a 14 or 16 hour day, I guess that's probably normal-ish. That's what I get from the Nexus 6, I guess. Maybe a little less.
Yeah.
Depends on how you use it though.
But I mean, I think it's and the size just makes it, I think, a very sort of crowd-pleasing phone because it's not gigantic like some phones are these days, and and the bezels are narrow, and it's just a pretty comfortable phone to use, even though it's all metal and glass. I guess it's kind of slippery, but
you know what? At the same time, like Apple did, they made a great phone for a case. All of these are in cases. I've never seen a Galaxy S6 in the wild without a case. The slim design with all the flat features makes it very easy to build a case for this phone that doesn't suck.
Yeah, I see edges without cases a lot. Yeah, I think a lot of the edge cases aren't very good.
It also doesn't hurt
because they're edge cases.
That you need to wear sunglasses around the S6.
It is super cool.
It is the brightest phone.
It is very bright.
We'll say this, that going back to the Note 5 conversation, if they make something that feels as good in the hand and is just a bigger version of the S6, they'll do fine with it, because it's a phone that when you see it, it looks nice. When you pick it up, it feels nice. And if the Note falls in that same line, they'll sell them.
Yeah, I mean, for mass market consumers, I completely agree. For the people who just want a big phone and they don't really care about the other stuff, I mean, if it was me, like the S6 Edge Plus, I wouldn't get that because I don't want a Snapdragon 808 phone because the GPU in that chipset is not trash, but it's not very good. It's slow. For the Note 5, I don't really want the stylus. I feel like I'm paying for something I'm not going to use at all. And then the removable battery and SD card slot going away, well, I'm losing, even if I didn't really use those things, but if I owned the phone, if I had one phone, and my phone took a swappable battery, I'd probably buy a spare. And I think a lot of people tend to do that. Just saying the key, even if you're not using it constantly. And on the SD card, well, maybe you might want that once in a while if you're going on a long plane ride and want to put a movie on there or something. Maybe, those are the little things to think about. And if the new Note doesn't have them, I can't believe I'm saying these words right now, but it makes the Note 5 to me seem less appealing. And Note was never an extremely appealing phone to me, but I always got the people who liked it, why exactly they liked it. And it's losing that uniqueness,
I think.
It
feels like it doesn't fit into its niche as well, if that's what they ended up with it.
Yeah, and the size difference is so, minimal anymore. You can get phones with the screen the size of a Note, basically the size of Notes, maybe a little smaller. They're just normal phones and don't have all the, like the G4 is 5.5 inches versus 5.7 for a Note. I mean, that extra 0.2 inches, you can see the difference, but it's not going to make a huge experience difference necessarily. And you're getting, maybe some stuff that you would not get in the Note, and at a better value. So I just don't know if the Note 5 is going to do it for Samsung. I think the S6 Edge Plus will sell like hotcakes. I think they'll sell a ton of those.
Yeah, people like big phones, and they like that Edge screen for whatever reason.
I think they just like it because it looks cool, because there's no functional utility to it at all.
You mentioned the folks who have the Edge don't put a case on it. Well, I'm not convinced that a case does much good on an Edge phone, because that's curvature of the screen. If you drop that thing, you're going to hit the screen, whether you got a case on it or not.
Yeah, probably.
I guess. No, I mean, you can build out the edges of the case to go a little further down.
Yeah, but I don't think most of the cases for the Edge do that, though. I think they hug the shape of the phone pretty close.
Yeah, I don't know if it still falls down and it hits at an angle. I don't know if there's anything you can do, because that curve exposes that screen in a way that you don't have on anything else.
Yeah, even the regular Galaxy S6, like, if you put a case on it, you can still drop it in such a way that you'll destroy it. There's no guarantee.
Yeah, definitely. It does not feel like a super durable phone, if that's the kind of standard we're living up to. If I were to want something durable, I'd probably look at the Galaxy S5, because I have an old AT&T Galaxy S5, and it has been dropped so many times. There's dings all over it. There are a few scratches on the screen, but it still functions perfectly and has no issues otherwise. The plastic Samsung phones did have a little more of that, like rugged, like play school quality of the. Exactly, they bounce, or the battery flew out of them, dissipated.
Yeah, they would explode on impact. They had crumple zones built right in.
They were actually sort of like, it's like when this is extremely terrible what I'm going to say. It's like when somebody gets hit by a car and their shoes stay on the pavement or go flying. That's basically what happened with Samsung phones. The battery goes shooting in the opposite direction. That's terrible. But that's kind of the physics I took away from the situation, having dropped that phone numerous times.
So in other words, leaving your shoes untied is a safety measure. Got it.
I always heard that if your shoes came off, you were dead, though. Isn't that how you determine if somebody died in like a video you find on the internet?
No way, because I've totally seen a video on LiveLeak where some guy got hit and his shoes were there and he lived.
Of course, it's on LiveLeak.
Oh.
Yeah, LiveLeak.
Yes. Wait, we should get to some voicemails, or one voicemail. We should just get to one. There's only one. So I'm gonna try this and see if it works any way that's at least able to get us to hear it. We could just fix it in post. See?
Hey guys, it's Phil.
Probably needs louder.
Midwest. Well, I liked your new format. It was cool. Hey guys, it's Phil from the Midwest. Well, I liked your new format. It was cool. And I just thought I'd give you a little bit of feedback. I've been a long-time Sprint customer, very, very dissatisfied. I have an M7. Love the phone, the network, not so good. Just picked up a few weeks ago or a month ago a Nexus 6. I got it just before they dropped the price, but they did give me $150 off. And I put it on AT&T SIM when it was really, really good, but that SIM only had a few days left on it. Then I went back to put it on Sprint, and the improvement is remarkable. Not exactly as good as being on AT&T, but it's very satisfactory. As a matter of fact, this phone call is being made on Google Hangouts, on Sprint data in an area where I could marginally make a regular phone call on Sprint. So I credit that with the Nexus 6, better bands, more frequencies available. So love the show. Keep up the good work. Not sure what I'm going to do because I'm waiting for my Google Fi or Project Fi SIM to see how that's going to go. But I'm still thinking about staying with Sprint because of the fact that giving up unlimited data is an issue, although I don't always use that much, but we'll see what happens. Thanks for all you do. Keep up the good work, and enjoy the hot summer day.
Not really any questions in there, but some comments about Sprint's network. And hey,
yeah, if you got a phone that supports more bands, it's going to get better. It's because Sprint Spark thing, because they changed their bands so much in the last 2 years. That's what it is. They have their tri-band network.
Wait, so if you're on Sprint on a Nexus 6, does it have the Spark icon?
Oh, I hope not.
I don't think so.
Has everybody seen the Spark icon? Because it's the worst.
Yeah, it's that spinning little sun thing.
Does your S6 have one, Dave?
It does. So I'm going to put it up here on video for everybody who's not watching the video of this show. Let me see if I can get it to open with the Play Store here.
Through the purity.
See if it spins. It's spinning.
Ooh, yeah, that's not okay.
So if I tap something, yeah, it's awful. Like it tells.
Who at Sprint looks at that and thinks this is good? We should continue to have this icon.
So if you're not watching the show, it's a little 6-pointed star basically, and then the little points of the star spin in a circle around the dot in the middle to let you know network activity is happening. And I'm sure somebody at Sprint thinks this is just delightful.
Well,
it's like a pinwheel every time you do anything.
It is. It's a pinwheel. That's what it is.
I bet somebody would say, no, this is reinforcing the product. Sprint Spark. Users will know what this is. They will appreciate this. Because
exactly.
It doesn't look like a spark.
It kind of does. It looks like a little exploding firework, maybe. Like little.
It looks like a saw blade.
They should just have a little explosion repeatedly happening in the status bar.
But I want it to be a photorealistic explosion.
Like a little mushroom cloud just explodes every time you use data.
Yes.
And getting back to things that aren't about icons, I'd have to say that probably just the fact that it's a Motorola phone versus an HTC phone made a bit of difference, because I've always had the best experiences as far as radios and receptions go with Motorola phones, hands down.
Motorola did invent.
Sorry, there's a fire alarm going off near or in my building. I can't tell. If I die a fiery death, it's been good, everybody.
You might want to evacuate. I don't know.
It's a small building. I think I would notice if it was on fire.
Just with you.
I can climb out the roof over there. I'm good.
And if you don't, hey, we'll just upload it to LiveLeak tomorrow.
There we go.
Did his shoes come off? Or does he
they
still
will
have
come off
shoes
because
on?
I'm wearing sandals, so they will come off.
Ooh, well, that's a problem.
Ooh, climbing out on a roof without shoes on, That's not a good look.
So I actually had to do that. I think I shared the story on the podcast where I flew the drone out of my office window and then it crashed because it went over an air conditioning vent and flipped over midair. Luckily, it didn't crash all the way 3 stories down to the ground. But and then I had to climb out of my office window to retrieve the drone, I was about as graceful as a hippopotamus climbing a fence. It was extremely brutal to watch myself or to experience myself doing that. I just felt like a complete idiot. Yep, this is me. This is my helicopter that I crashed 5 feet outside of my window.
Like, what would you say if somebody asked you like what you were like? Well, I crashed my drone, so now I'm on the roof.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think I have a video of it too. I think it's still on the drone. I should retrieve that. I haven't flown it since. It was a bad experience.
You've been scarred for life.
Actually,
I do want to see that video of the drone sitting on the roof, just silently judging you as you come to rescue it.
The better video would be the one where I'm using an iPad to control it, and I'm trying to take a video of it floating in air, and the iPad overheats, and the drone starts to fly away on its own. The control app is frozen.
You would think, like, if a drone lost contact with the controller, it should just, like, land. It shouldn't go up. But a lot of them do, actually.
They do. They just go straight up. Artem had that experience as well, I believe. So yeah.
Just go up into space, like into that.
I'm just thinking about all the people who fly those things out over bodies of water. Yeah, just land. We lost contact. Just land.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah. So then we have an email this week, I think.
Yeah, and I'm gonna try to say this name, but I'm gonna apologize in advance. I think it's Shrikant Holla. It is probably some nationality that I have offended greatly by my pronunciation. But anyways, they wrote in, "Hello AP, heard your discussion about Android status bar icons on podcast episode 168. This is a long time opinion on how it can be modified. 1. The network Wi-Fi, alarm, and all system status icons, including persistent ongoing notification icons from third-party apps, can be moved to a line above or below the screen navbar, like on a PC, so that the area at the top of the screen is fully available for notifications. 2. Another change could be persistent notifications should be grouped into separate notification drawer, like the separation between notifications and quick toggles, so that the persistent notifications don't take up all of the top space when the notification drawer is pulled down. I'd like to hear your opinions on the above ideas. Love your site and podcast. Keep up the good work. Thanks."
You know, I mean, this isn't the worst idea, but it's so comfy to have them up there in the top right. It's like a little blanket.
I feel like this might require moving things to too many different places, like splitting things up unnecessarily.
Yeah, you know.
I do agree about I completely agree about the persistent notifications in the notification.
Yeah, persistent notifications are annoying.
Oh, they're the worst.
Didn't we have something that said Google was working on a way to put persistent notifications in their own little place?
Yeah, there was an exploration where the notification tray was more of like a full screen experience, and you would swipe again to get to this other universe where you have.
Oh yeah, that was freaky Google Now launcher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, they definitely need to come up with some way to get those out of the way, especially when so many OEMs, they put so much junk in the notification shade that it pushes the notifications down so far.
Well, I think the solution is just to disable those notifications. That's what I do for anything that tries to be persistent.
I think
a lot of times the apps have those notifications, though, so that they can keep it active in your memory to do whatever task it is that they're doing. So that's definitely an option, but you have to understand that you might get reduced functionality from whatever that app was intended to do.
I think that the other issue there is that that's just a problem with Android not allowing, reasonably, apps that have real utility and need to be running in somewhat persistent state.
Yeah,
Google have a janky solution on.
I don't know how you. I don't know if there's a way you can do that without a lot of really terrible apps taking advantage of it too. They'd have to have some sort of certification.
Exactly, and that's it's a give and take issue. But I think that hiding, because how often do you actually care how strong your Wi-Fi signal is when you're on Wi-Fi? I mean, it's nice to be able to check it, but does it need to be there all the time? And for me, that's why on the M preview on my Nexus 6, I have everything turned off except the battery and the clock. Because honestly, I'm not looking at that stuff unless I actually need to know.
So, it's surprising to me why persistent notifications they're considered high priority, meaning they're in the top section. Why are they not in the bottom section at least?
Right.
I mean, that would be the simplest solution for now.
They could just collapse persistent notifications into like a single line at least if there's more than one.
Yeah, and then you just tap on that line if you want to see more details and expand it out.
Yeah. Well, there are problems with Android notifications, but the problems are much less severe than they were. Remember when you couldn't even clear an individual notification? Those were dark days.
When you couldn't even what? I'm sorry, you cut out there.
When you couldn't even clear individual notifications.
Oh, yeah.
I have actually locked that memory in my vault, so thank you for that.
I have a hard time remembering before expandable notifications.
That was
Now we have some interesting things to explore in our ongoing series, so tune in next week.
Yeah, well, next week will be Android 4.4, so we're not quite back to that Stone Age yet.
Not yet. Well, anyways, thanks, guys, for leaving voicemails and emails. If you want to get in on that action, there's an email address, podcast@androidpolice.com. You can reach us at. Also, 530-HELLO-AP, that's 530-435-5627. You can also get a hold of us at Twitter @AndroidPolice and Google Plus and Facebook. And I think we need to take a moment to thank our sponsor, David.
We do. We'd like to thank Simple, a better way to do online banking, for sponsoring the Android Police podcast. You can check them out at simple.com/AndroidPolice and help support the show.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
All right.